If there's one thing I can appreciate, it is consistency, and it is symmetrical enforcement. I don't like banning. I don't like people being shut down. But I also hate more than that asymmetrical enforcement. Like the whole Patreon debacle rubs me the wrong way because they're clearly targeting Sargon. Here's the thing. You want to make a rule about hate speech? Sure, fine, I'm willing to listen to you and abide by the rules. You only enforce your rules against some people? I got a problem with that. More importantly, you enforce unwritten rules against some people and not against everyone else. Yeah, now we're at odds to an extreme degree. But this story is actually kind of funny because it gives me pause. Swedish women-only music festival found guilty of discrimination. The statement festival was found to be in breach of gender discrimination law, but will not be penalized. So this gives me pause because they're found guilty of discrimination, but at the same time, they're not going to be penalized for it. There's a guy, I don't know his name, but he goes around and he sues bars and venues that have women only, like ladies' night events, because my understanding is that's actually a violation of civil rights law. So what's kind of funny is you have the baker guy in Colorado where he didn't want to bake a custom cake for a gay wedding, and they sued him. He actually won on some technical grounds. He's being sued again because he refused to make a gender confirmation thing for a trans person. So it continues. The inverse of this is there are people, there's one prominent guy, I don't know his name, who goes to these bars and demands equal treatment under the law. When he gets refused, he files a lawsuit. He wins them all. Because, look, dude, plain and simple, you cannot be a venue and say this particular class gets something, this one doesn't. And it is frustrating for a lot of reasons. You go to a bar and they have a ladies special where it's if women come, they get half off drinks. They do this because women don't often come to these establishments, and it's usually 50 guys, and then it creates just a boring atmosphere, and they want men and women. So they incentivize women to come, cheaper drinks, free entry, and then the guys can mingle with you. They don't see it as discrimination. They see it as it's $5 to enter the bar no matter what. But for women, you come in for $2. Basically, the way it's interpreted by this one dude is that you're basically saying men have to pay more. You get it? Because there's no real way to say which one is the status the way it should be. But it is illegal, right? So they end up losing. But let's read the story about the festival. A Swedish event billed as the world's first major music festival for women, non-binary and transgender only, has been found in breach by Sweden's discrimination ombudsman. The inaugural Statement Festival was held in Gothenburg in August following a successful crowdfunding campaign that raised 533,000 Swedish crowns, which is 46,000 pounds. The DO opened an investigation into the festival in July. A new DO ruling said although the festival's organizers did not enforce the man-free rule, since no differentiation based on sex was made between visitors at entry, the statements the company used prior to the event discouraged a certain group from attending the event, breaching a law banning gender discrimination. There's an inherent problem here, okay? I noticed, Patreon has a blog post about social justice, and they say they want to have 50% women and gender minority. First, men are it's so hard to talk about this stuff. Men are a gender minority. The world is predominantly female by 1 or 2%. So when you make a post and you say we want to have half the company be 50% women and gender minority, you're basically saying you want the company to be 75% men. How do you not understand this? Okay, I understand by gender minority. They're talking about non-binary and transgender individuals. But they didn't say that. They said gender minority. So they're basically saying is half the company will be male and the other half will be a mix between female and gender minority, and the gender minority is predominantly male, therefore you're likely to get 75% male, which they're already doing better than because Patreon is apparently 48% female. So there's an inversion here, right? It should be the other way around if you wanted to get parity. But I think it's funny that it's the interesting thing about it is they say that this event was going to have only women and non-binary and trans people. So all a guy has to do is say non-binary, and now they're no longer subject to male privilege. They point out that they didn't differentiate visitors at entry. They said no differentiation was based on sex was made at entry. Well, because you can't. You can't have the argument that gender is a social construct, therefore a woman can be wearing whatever they want, and a man can be wearing whatever they want, and either could call themselves a man or a woman, and then actually create a distinction as to what group is or is not allowed in your festival. To put it simply, if a biological female can put on a jacket and a suit and say she is still a woman, then a man can put on a suit and a jacket and say he is also a woman, or is a man, or is non-binary, because there's no distinction between any genders. And this is one of the weirdest things for me on the whole issue is, if people can be born the wrong gender and get gender confirmation, but gender is a social construct, we're in an impasse. And I'm not saying this in any way to be disrespectful, I'm just generally confused, I don't understand it. Now, one of the hardest things is that in my confusion, I often get belittled or insulted for making videos where I bring this up. I'm not looking to be disrespectful by any means. I'm just trying to figure out what you want me to do, like plain and simple. All respect, for sure, do your thing. Just tell me what is or is not offensive, and I am glad to abide by it. The problem is, it's often contradictory, and I just don't know, right? So you have people on the left saying the right is anti-science. It's like, okay, that's bad. But then on Wikipedia, the trans woman and the woman page conflict with each other and actually disagree, and I'm like, so I know Wikipedia isn't the greatest academic science institution, or it's just an aggregator, but they have scientific citation on both pages. What do you want me to do, man? I can't do both. And then you have these platforms saying, hate speech is not allowed. You can't do these things to disparage groups. And I'm like, dude, I don't know which one is disparaging which group. They say women is exclusive. It excludes people, so it's offensive. But wimixin, women with an X, is also offensive. You're basically just saying you can ban anyone at any time for any reason. And therein lies the problem. But we'll read on a little bit. The organizers of Statement responded on Facebook. It's sad that what 5,000 women, non-binaries, and transgender experience as a life-changing festival made a few cis men lose it completely. The success of the Statement Festival shows that is exactly what we need, and the DO's verdict doesn't change this fact. Otherwise, we have no comments. We are busy changing the world. I got into an argument with somebody where he said he thinks segregation is bad. It was about him saying oh, I don't like the conservatives, blah, 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 and the racists, because ultimately just segregation is wrong. And I was like, oh, I agree, but it's the left that wants segregation, not the right. There are fringe elements of the right who are in favor of segregation, but for the most part, the mainstream left is. The fact that this organization had 5,000 women show up to an event pro-segregation, that says something, okay? It does. When I was in Ferguson during the protests, they had signs saying colored only on doors. You couldn't go in. Harvard, I think it was Harvard, had a black-only graduation festival, right? This is mainstream left. And I don't want to say it's the average left-wing person believes this, but it is acceptable within the left to do events that specifically say certain people of certain genders are not allowed in this event. That is discrimination. That is segregation. So it is primarily the left that wants this stuff. When they talk about safe spaces, and they talk about things that are only for the diaspora or for Latinos, that's segregation, man. That is pro-segregation. I'm not in favor of that. I'm in favor of integration. DO press officer Klaas Lundstedt said, it is important to point out what an infringement is. These infringements relate to statements made before the festival that they wrote on their website. Still, we haven't been able to prove that anyone would have been discriminated against in connection with the implementation, or that someone would have been rejected. Clearly, we believe that sexual abuse, especially at festivals, is a serious problem. So we are looking forward to trying to correct this, said Lundstedt. However, it shouldn't happen in a way that violates the law, which their statements in the media and their website did. Do you want to know why they have this event in, I believe it was in Sweden, right? Yeah. Because I believe it was Mumford & Sons said they would never play a festival in Sweden again because of all of the sexual assaults that take place in the festivals. Record numbers. Men come in and just abuse all of these women, and we're gonna leave it there because it's a very, very complicated issue that gets into areas of immigration, if you know what I'm trying to say. The point is, because of this, they are now creating events that say no men. Oh, right? Well, there you go, and you can't do that. If you're going to say pro-migration, pro-protected class, you can't then turn around and advocate for segregation. Statement Festival was founded by comedian Emma, I can't pronounce that, Nyker, after a series of assaults at Swedish music festivals, including 4 forcible acts and 23 assaults at the 2017 edition of the country's music festival, Bravalla, which led to the event's cancellation in 2018. Organizers describe statement as a safe space for the people who want to attend a festival without feeling scared for their personal safety, and said it would remain a protected space until all men learn how to behave themselves. That is psychotic, this statement right here. It really is like fringe extremist ideology that when they say things like, yes, all men, you're a fringe extremist. You are like an extreme bigot who is prejudicial and downright nuts, in my opinion. And it's extremely dangerous for one reason. The far-right fringe types, I don't know necessarily what far-right means. It refers to a lot of things. But you know what I'm trying to say when I do it, like as a colloquial understanding. The fringe, ultra-nationalist, racist elements, they tell you they are. But they're fringe, few and far between. These people who straight up think like every man on the planet is like evil and are pro-segregation and super racist, they hide it and pretend they aren't. And these people are gaining power, and it really, really is terrifying. Anyway, it's time for me to head out. The holidays are coming. I'm going to be working straight through them. But now I'm going to enjoy a slice of pizza and some cartoons. I'll see you next time.